The ink on the contract was still wet. My father, Bates McCarty, wiped his sweaty palms on his dirty jeans, refusing to look me in the eye. He wasn't just signing away a car or a house. He was trading my life for $50,000. "Don't worry, Bella," my father whispered, his voice trembling as he reached for the cash. "It's just business. You'll work it off in a few years." The loan shark grinned, his yellow teeth flashing like a warning light. "She's mine now, Bates. Get out." He reached for my wrist. I squeezed my eyes shut, waiting for the cold touch of a life I didn't choose. I stopped breathing. This was it. But before his fingers could close around my skin, the world exploded. The steel door didn't just open, it was kicked off its hinges. A silhouette stepped through the dust. He didn't look like a savior. He looked like death in a bespoke suit. The room went dead silent. The stranger looked at the measly stack of cash my father had accepted, then looked at me. His eyes were dark, possessive, and terrifying. "50,000?" he asked, his voice low and dangerous. "The deal is off. I'm paying double." He didn't come to save me. He came to outbid them. "Real quick. I want to see which country has the most fans here. Drop your country's flag in the comments. And if you love dark romance stories like this, hit subscribe so you never miss a part." Okay, back to the warehouse. The silence that followed the crash was somehow louder than the explosion itself. Dust hung in the air like a curtain between before and after, between the girl I was a second ago and whoever I was about to become. Through the haze, I could make out the shape of a man. Tall, broad-shouldered, moving with the kind of calm that only comes from knowing you're the most dangerous thing in any room. His shoes, expensive, polished to a mirror shine, crunched over broken concrete and twisted metal as he stepped into the dim light of the warehouse. The loan shark's hand, which had been reaching for my wrist, froze mid-air. His yellow-toothed grin melted like wax. "August Smith," he breathed, and the name seemed to suck what little oxygen was left in the room. I didn't know who August Smith was, but I understood fear. I'd lived with it my entire life, worn it like a second skin thanks to my father's choices. But this was different. This was the kind of fear that made grown men forget how to stand. My father had gone pale, his sweaty hands now trembling against his thighs. The contract, my contract, the document that traded 23 years of my life for $50,000, lay on the scarred wooden table between us, ink still glistening. August Smith didn't look at me. Not yet, his eyes, dark and cold as January rain, fixed on the loan shark with the kind of focus that precedes violence. "Gentlemen," he said, his voice smooth as smoke and just as suffocating, "I believe you have something that interests me." Two men materialized behind him, guards, though calling them that felt inadequate. They looked like they'd been carved from granite and taught to kill before they learned to walk. They positioned themselves at the exits, hands folded in front of them, faces blank. The loan shark found his voice, though it came out strangled. "Mr. Smith, this is private business, already concluded." "Nothing's concluded until she walks out of here." August's gaze finally landed on me, and I felt it like a physical touch. His eyes traveled from my tear-stained face down to my shaking hands, then back up. Something flickered there. Recognition? No, that couldn't be right. I'd never seen this man before in my life. He turned back to the loan shark and reached inside his jacket. The loan shark flinched, but August only pulled out a leather wallet. From it, he extracted a business card and placed it on the table next to my contract. Then he pulled out a black bag from one of his guards, the kind banks used to transport money. It hit the table with a heavy thud that made everyone jump. 50,000, you said. August unzipped the bag, revealing stacks of crisp bills. I'll pay double. My father's eyes went wide, dollar signs practically visible in his pupils. He leaned forward, already reaching. No. The loan shark's voice cracked. No, we have an agreement. You have a piece of paper and a bad decision. August pushed the bag closer. $100,000, cash, right now. She leaves with me. She's not for sale to you, the loan shark insisted, but his confidence was crumbling. Sweat beaded on his forehead. We have prior arrangements, commitments. August smiled then, and it was the most terrifying thing I'd ever seen. No warmth reached his eyes. Everything's for sale, he said softly. The only question is whether you're smart enough to take the better offer. The loan shark's hand moved toward his waistband. He didn't even clear his jacket before August's guards had guns drawn, aimed, and ready. The metallic click of safeties being released echoed through the warehouse. Don't, August said, almost bored. I came here to make a transaction, not clean up a mess, though I'm prepared for both. My father finally spoke, his voice eager and pathetic. Take it. Take the money. It's more than fair. Shut up, Bates, the loan shark hissed. But I could see the calculation in his eyes, the weighing of options. 100,000 now, versus whatever profit I represented later, minus the cost of going to war with August Smith. He reached for the money. August moved faster. His hand clamped down on the loan shark's wrist, holding it flat against the table. Touch that money and you accept my terms. She walks, no follow-up, no retaliation, no second thoughts. You don't know who you're interfering with. I know exactly who I'm interfering with. August's voice dropped to something lethal. The question is whether you know who you're refusing. The loan shark's fingers twitched, then, slowly, he nodded. August released him and turned to me, extending his hand, not asking, claiming. Come, he said. I looked at my father one last time, hoping for, what? Regret? Apology? Some sign that selling his daughter caused him even a moment of pain. He was staring at the money. I placed my hand in August's. His grip was firm, warm, and steady. Everything my life had never been. He led me toward the shattered doorway, his guards falling into formation around us. The night air hit my face, cold and sharp, as we stepped over debris. A black car waited, engine purring. As he opened the door, August leaned close, his breath warm against my ear. Don't look back, he whispered. You don't have a father anymore. The door closed, sealing me inside, and as we pulled away, I didn't look back. I couldn't tell if I'd just been saved or captured. The drive took 40 minutes, though it felt like seconds and hours all at once. August sat across from me in the back of the town car, silent as a held breath. He typed occasionally on his phone, the blue light illuminating the sharp angles of his face. He didn't look at me, didn't speak. The two guards from the warehouse occupied the front seats, equally silent. I pressed myself against the leather seat, trying to make myself small, trying to disappear. My mind raced through possibilities, each worse than the last. What did he want with me? Why pay double? Men like him, men who commanded fear with just their presence, didn't make charitable investments. The car turned onto a private road, and massive iron gates swung open as we approached. They closed behind us with a finality that made my stomach drop. The estate sprawled before us like something from a movie, all stone and glass and impossible wealth. Spotlights illuminated manicured gardens, a fountain, columns that belonged in a museum. This wasn't a home. This was a fortress pretending to be a palace. We pulled up to the main entrance where a woman in a crisp black dress waited. She was perhaps 50, with steel-gray hair pulled back severely, and the kind of posture that suggested military training. "Mrs. Chen will show you to your room," August said, his first words since the warehouse. He climbed out without waiting for a response. I followed on shaking legs, my cheap shoes clicking against marble floors that probably cost more than my father's entire house. Crystal chandeliers threw prismatic light across walls hung with art I didn't understand. Everything gleamed. Everything was perfect. Everything felt like a cage wrapped in silk. Mrs. Chen led me up a curved staircase, down a hallway lined with closed doors. She stopped at the last one, produced a keycard, and the lock beeped softly. "You're sweet, Miss Bates," she said, pushing the door open. I'd expected a cell, a basement room with bare walls and a cot. Instead, I walked into something from a luxury hotel magazine. A 4-poster bed dominated the space, draped in ivory silk. French doors led to a balcony. A sitting area featured a velvet sofa and a flat-screen television. Another door revealed a bathroom with a tub large enough to swim in. "Fresh clothes in the closet," Mrs. Chen continued, her tone professional but not unkind. "Dinner is at 8 if you wish to join Mr. Smith, otherwise I can have something sent up." She left before I could respond, the door clicking shut behind her. I stood frozen in the center of the room, surrounded by luxury that felt like a mockery. This wasn't kindness. This was the same principle as fattening a pig before slaughter. Make it comfortable, make it complacent, then strike. I moved to the French doors, tested the handle. They opened easily onto a balcony overlooking the gardens. The night air was cool, fragrant with jasmine. For a moment, I let myself imagine climbing down, running through those perfect hedges to freedom. Then I noticed the guards. 2 stationed near the fountain. Another pair patrolling the perimeter. Their presence was subtle but unmistakable. Hands resting near concealed weapons, eyes constantly scanning. I stepped back inside and examined the windows more closely. The glass was thick, unnaturally so. I rapped my knuckles against it. The sound was dull, heavy, bulletproof. My chest tightened. Luxury prison was still prison. I couldn't stay here, wouldn't stay here. Whatever August Smith wanted from me, I wouldn't wait around to find out. The hallway was empty when I cracked the door open. I slipped out, bare feet silent on the plush carpet. I didn't know where I was going, only that I had to move, had to try, had to do something other than sit in that beautiful room waiting for my fate. I made it to the top of the stairs before I saw him. August stood in the hallway below, hands in his pockets, watching me with an expression I couldn't read, not angry, not surprised, almost expectant. "Going somewhere?" His voice carried up the staircase, soft but clear. My hand gripped the banister. "Let me go." "You're not a prisoner, Bella." "Then why are there guards? Why are the windows bulletproof?" My voice rose, fear sharpening into anger. "Why did you pay double to bring me to a fortress?" He climbed the stairs slowly, each step measured. When he reached me, he was close enough that I could smell his cologne, cedar and something darker, like smoke. "Come with me," he said. "No, please." The word sounded foreign in his mouth, like he rarely used it. 5 minutes, then you can go back to your room, and we'll discuss your options in the morning. Something in his tone made me follow. He led me down a different hallway to a door that required both a key card and a fingerprint scan. Inside was an office. Massive desk, floor-to-ceiling bookshelves, and one entire wall covered in monitors. Security feeds, dozens of them. The gates, the gardens, the perimeter. the roads leading to the estate. August moved to the console and pulled up one, feed, enlarging it. A black van sat idling on the road just outside the property line. Even in the grainy footage, I could see figures inside. "They arrived 20 minutes ago," August said quietly. "They've been circling every 10 minutes since." My blood went cold. "Who?" "Friends of the men at the warehouse." He switched to another feed showing a different angle. "The ones who had other plans for you. Plans that didn't involve you choosing anything ever again." The van moved slowly past the camera, and I caught a glimpse of the driver. Yellow teeth, that same predatory grin, the loan shark. "You're not safe out there, Bella." August's voice was matter-of-fact, not threatening. "You think I'm your captor. I understand that. But those men out there? They're not going to offer you silk sheets and French doors. They're not going to ask permission." I stared at the screen, watching the van disappear down the road, knowing it would circle back, knowing it was hunting. "So, what am I?" I whispered. "If not a prisoner?" August turned off the monitors, and suddenly we were standing in near darkness, just the ambient glow from the hallway. "Someone I'm trying to keep alive," he said, "whether you believe that or not." The black van appeared on the screen again, slower this time, like a shark circling wounded prey. "You're safe only if you stay inside." I didn't sleep. How could I? Every time I closed my eyes, I saw that black van circling like a vulture waiting for death. By the time dawn broke through the bulletproof windows, painting the room in shades of gold and amber, I'd made a decision. I needed answers. Real ones. Not the careful half-truths August had fed me in that security room, not the silent treatment from the car ride. If I was going to be trapped here, and the van outside made it clear I was trapped, one way or another, I deserved to know why. Mrs. Chen appeared at 8 o'clock sharp with a breakfast tray I hadn't requested. Toast, eggs, fresh fruit arranged like art. She set it on the table by the window without a word. "I want to see him," I said. "August." She paused, her expression unreadable. "Mr. Smith takes breakfast in the dining room at 9. You're welcome to join him." She left the tray. I didn't touch it. At 9 exactly, I made my way downstairs, retracing the route from last night. The estate looked different in daylight, less menacing, more magnificent. Morning sun streamed through tall windows, making the marble floors glow. Somewhere, I could hear classical music playing softly. The dining room was at the end of a long hallway. Double doors stood open, revealing a table that could seat 20 but currently held only one man. August sat at the head, reading a newspaper, an actual physical newspaper, with a cup of coffee steaming beside him. He'd traded last night's suit for dark slacks and a white shirt, sleeves rolled to his elbows. He looked younger somehow, almost normal. "Bella." He sat down. "The paper." "Please, sit. I'll stand. Suit yourself." He gestured to the spread before him, more food than one person could eat in a week. "Hungry? I want answers. I assumed you would." He took a sip of coffee, watching me over the rim. "What would you like to know?" "Everything." "Nothing." "Where to even start? Why me? That's a complicated question." "Then uncomplicate it." My hands clenched into fists at my sides. "You paid $100,000 for me. You brought me to this fortress. You're keeping me here while men circle outside like wolves. Why? What do you want?" August set down his cup carefully. "What do you think I want?" "I don't know." The words exploded out of me. Weeks, no years, of helplessness finally finding a target. That's the problem. I don't know if you're going to sell me to someone else or keep me here as some kind of trophy or if you're just like my father." The accusation hung in the air between us. Another man who sees me as something to own, something to use. His jaw tightened. For a moment I thought I'd gone too far, pushed the dangerous man too hard. Then he stood, walked to a cabinet against the wall, and pulled out a manila folder. He returned to the table and threw it down between us. "Open it." I didn't move. "What is it?" "The truth you're asking for." My hands shook as I reached for the folder. Inside were papers. Documents, spreadsheets, photographs that made my stomach turn. Women's faces, dozens of them. Ages, measurements, descriptions written in cold, clinical language like they were livestock. "What is this?" "A trafficking manifest." August's voice had gone flat, emotionless. "The operation your father sold you to." I flipped through the pages, my horror growing with each one. Shipping schedules, destinations, prices. Then I saw my own face staring back at me from a photograph I didn't remember being taken. My name, my details, and a destination, Dubai. "No," the word came out as barely a whisper. "No, he said it was debt. He said—" He lied. August moved closer, not touching the folder, but close enough that I could feel his presence. "There was no debt, Bella, or rather, there was, but it was already settled months ago. The men at that warehouse? They weren't loan sharks. They were buyers. Your father didn't sell you to pay off gambling debts. He sold you for $50,000 cash because that's what they offered him." The room tilted. I gripped the edge of the table, trying to steady myself. "You're lying." "I wish I was." He pulled out another document. Emails between my father and someone named Victor. The messages were brief, transactional. Discussing me like I was a car he was selling. Negotiating price. Confirming the meeting. One message made bile rise in my throat. "She's clean, never been touched, exactly what your clients want, 50, and she's yours." My father's words. My father's betrayal, right there in black and white. "How did you—" I couldn't finish the question. "I've been tracking this ring for 6 months." August's voice softened slightly. "We got a tip about the warehouse meeting. When I saw your name on the manifest, your photo—" He paused. I couldn't let it happen. "Why?" I looked up at him, tears blurring my vision. "Why would you care about one girl?" "Because I knew your mother." The world stopped. "What?" "Sarah Bates. She worked at a restaurant I frequented years ago before I was this." He gestured vaguely at the estate. "She was kind to a kid who had nothing. Gave me free meals when she could, talked to me like I mattered." His eyes met mine. "When she died, I looked for you, made sure you were okay, from a distance. And when I saw your name on that list—" "You didn't buy a slave," I whispered, his earlier words suddenly making terrible sense. "You stopped a shipment." "Yes." The folder slipped from my hands, papers scattering across the marble floor. All the fight, all the anger, everything holding me together collapsed at once. A sob tore from my chest, then another, until I was drowning in the truth of it. My father hadn't just sold me. He'd sold me to be shipped overseas, to disappear into a world where I'd have no name, no voice, no hope of escape. And he'd done it for money. Just money. Arms wrapped around me, strong, steady, warm. August pulled me against his chest, one hand cradling the back of my head, the other firm against my back. Not possessive, not demanding, just holding me while I shattered. "I've got you," he murmured into my hair. "You're safe now, I promise." And for the first time since my mother died, I believed someone might actually keep that promise. 3 days passed in the fortress. 3 days of learning to breathe again, of Mrs. Chen's quiet kindness, of meals I didn't have to scrounge for. 3 days of watching August from a distance, in the hallway, in his office, always working, always vigilant. He didn't push, didn't demand, just existed in the same space, like a guard dog that had learned to be patient. I spent most of my time in my room or on the balcony, watching the guards patrol. The black van hadn't returned, but I knew better than to think it was over. Men like that didn't just give up, they waited, they planned. On the 4th night, I couldn't sleep. The bed was too soft, the silence too loud. I'd spent my whole life in my father's cramped house, where you could hear every creak, every neighbor's argument, every siren in the distance. This quiet felt wrong, like the world was holding its breath. I wrapped myself in a robe Mrs. Chen had left and stepped onto the balcony. The night air was cool, carrying the scent of jasmine and freshly cut grass. The estate grounds were lit by subtle landscape lighting, creating pools of gold in an ocean of darkness. That's when I heard it. A voice. Slurred and loud, shattering the careful peace. "August Smith, get out here, you son of a bitch!" My blood turned to ice. I knew that voice. Had known it my entire life. I rushed to the balcony's edge and looked toward the gates. Even from this distance, I could make out the figure stumbling against the iron bars, banging on them with both fists. My father. Drunk, judging by the way he swayed, and shouting loud enough to wake the dead. "I know you're in there. I know she's in there." 2 guards approached from the gatehouse, hands on their weapons. My father didn't seem to notice or care. "That's my daughter, my property. You owe me." The words hit like physical blows. Property. After everything in that folder, after seeing proof of what he'd done, I shouldn't have been surprised. But hearing him say it out loud, claim ownership of me like I was his car or his furniture, made something dark and bitter bloom in my chest. Movement below caught my eye. August emerged from the main entrance, his silhouette unmistakable even in the dim light. He'd pulled on a jacket but was still in the clothes he'd worn at dinner, charcoal slacks, a black shirt. He moved with that same measured calm, like my father's drunken rage was nothing more than a mild inconvenience. I shouldn't have watched. Should have gone back inside, let August handle it. But I was rooted to the spot, unable to look away. August reached the gates and said something to the guards. They stepped back, giving him space. He stood on the other side of the iron bars from my father, hands in his pockets, completely relaxed. "Bates." His voice carried up to the balcony, quiet but clear. "You should leave." "Leave? Leave?" My father laughed, a harsh, ugly sound. "You think you can just take what's mine? You owe me, Smith. You paid those bastards $100,000 for her. I should get half. She's my daughter. You sold her. For $50. You paid double. That extra $50 is mine. You sold her to be trafficked overseas." August's voice dropped lower, dangerous. "You sold your own daughter to men who would have destroyed her. And now you want a commission? Business is business." My father banged on the gates again. She was never going to amount to anything anyway, waste of space, just like her mother. At least I made something off her. The words should have hurt, would have hurt, a week ago. But standing on that balcony, wrapped in silk and safety, watching the man who'd raised me reduced to a drunken stranger at the gates, I felt nothing. No pain, no love, nothing. August moved then, not with rage but with surgical precision. He pulled out a key card, swiped it, and the gate's lock clicked open. He stepped through, and my father stumbled back, suddenly uncertain. "You want to talk business?" August said. "Let's talk business." The first punch came fast, a sharp jab to my father's gut that doubled him over. The second caught his jaw, snapping his head back. My father went down hard, crumpling to the asphalt like a puppet with cut strings. August stood over him, not even breathing hard. "You don't get to call her your daughter. You don't get to claim her. You don't get a single dollar. What you get is this: leave and never come back. Come back, and I'll make sure the only place you go is the bottom of the river." My father coughed, blood dribbling from his split lip. You can't. I can. I will." August crouched down, getting close to my father's face. "She's under my protection now. That means you don't exist anymore, understand?" For a moment, I thought it was over. Thought my father would crawl away into whatever hole he'd climbed out of, never to return. Then he started laughing, a wet, rattling sound that raised every hair on my neck. "You think you're safe?" He looked up at August, then past him, toward the house, toward me. "You think your fortress and your guards matter? They're coming for her tonight, Smith. Victor's coming. He's already paid for her, and he always collects his—" The gunshot cracked through the night like lightning. My father's head snapped forward, his words cutting off mid-sentence. For a heartbeat, he stayed upright, his eyes wide and surprised. Then he toppled sideways, blood pooling beneath him on the dark asphalt. August spun, already drawing a weapon from beneath his jacket. The guards scattered, taking defensive positions. Lights blazed on across the estate, turning night into harsh, artificial day. "Lock down," August's voice rang out, sharp and commanding. "Now." But I barely heard him. I was staring at my father's body, at the dark stain spreading beneath him, at the finality of death. And beyond him, in the darkness past the gates, I could feel them watching. Waiting. Coming. The world moved in fast forward after the gunshot. Guards swarmed the grounds like ants from a kicked hill. August was shouting orders into a radio, his calm facade finally cracking to reveal something harder, sharper underneath. Someone grabbed my arm, Mrs. Chen, her face pale but determined. "Come with me. Now." She pulled me from the balcony, through my room, into the hallway where two guards fell into formation around us. We moved fast, practically running, taking stairs I didn't know existed, going down, down, down into the belly of the mansion. "What's happening?" My voice came out thin, breathless. "What your father warned about." Mrs. Chen's grip on my wrist was iron. "They're coming." We reached a steel door that looked like it belonged in a bank vault. One of the guards pressed his palm to a scanner, and the door hissed open with a sound like a submarine seal breaking. Inside was a room I'd never seen. Concrete walls, no windows, shelves stocked with water and supplies. A safe room. "Stay here," Mrs. Chen commanded. "Don't open this door for anyone except Mr. Smith or me, understand? Where's August? Doing his job." She pushed me inside, "Keeping you alive." The door sealed shut with a final, terrible thud. I was alone in the silence, in the artificial light, in a concrete box deep underground, while, somewhere above me, men were coming to take me back. I pressed my ear to the door, but the steel was too thick. No sound penetrated. I could be the last person on earth for all I knew. Then the lights flickered. My heart stopped. The emergency lighting kicked in, dim red bulbs that cast everything in the color of blood. And through the door, muffled but unmistakable, came the sound of gunfire. It started distant, like popcorn popping. Then closer, louder, the sharp crack of pistols, the heavier bark of rifles, shouting, breaking glass. The beautiful mansion above me was turning into a war zone, and I was trapped in a box listening to it happen. I counted my breaths. 1, 2, 3, tried to stay calm, stay rational. August had prepared for this. He'd known they might come. That's why the bulletproof windows, the guards, the fortress. He was ready. But what if ready wasn't enough? The gunfire intensified. Something exploded. A grenade? A car? The whole room shook, dust raining from the concrete ceiling. I backed against the far wall, hugging myself, trying to make sense of chaos I couldn't see. Then silence. Worse than the gunfire. Silence meant it was over. Meant someone had won. I held my breath, listening, waiting. Footsteps approached the door. Heavy boots on concrete, multiple sets. My whole body tensed. "Bella," August's voice, muffled through the steel. "It's me. Open the door." Relief flooded through me so intensely I nearly collapsed. I lunged for the door, fingers fumbling with the interior lock. It took 3 tries before I got it open. August stood in the hallway, and my relief evaporated. Blood streaked his face, his shirt torn and darkened with what I hoped was someone else's blood. Behind him, the concrete walls were pockmarked with bullet holes. 2 of his guards lay motionless on the ground. "We need to move." His voice was rough, urgent. "They breached the main level. More are coming. I thought, you thought wrong." He grabbed my hand, pulling me into the hallway. "Victor brought an army. We're outnumbered." We ran through corridors I'd never seen. August moving with the certainty of someone who'd memorized every inch of his fortress. Behind us, I could hear them. Boots pounding, voices shouting in a language I didn't understand. We burst through a door into the main hallway, and I stopped breathing. The beautiful marble floors were littered with broken glass from the shattered chandelier. The walls, once pristine, were scorched and bullet-riddled. A guard lay sprawled near the stairs, his blood spreading across white marble like a dark flower blooming. "Keep moving." August pulled me forward, but I couldn't stop staring at the destruction. Everything beautiful, everything perfect, turned into a battlefield in minutes. A window exploded inward, and August shoved me down as bullets sprayed overhead. He returned fire without hesitation, his weapon barking 3 times. Someone screamed outside. "The West Wing," he said, dragging me up. "There's a—" He cut off as a figure emerged from the dining room. Victor, the loan shark. Still grinning those yellow teeth, but this time he held a gun leveled directly at us. "End of the road, Smith." His accent was thick, Eastern European. "You should have minded your own business." August shifted, positioning himself between Victor and me. "She's not going with you. She's merchandise, already paid for." Victor's grin widened. "You've caused me considerable inconvenience. Cost me men, money, reputation. For what? One girl? For this girl." August's voice was steel. "And you're not leaving here alive." Victor laughed. Bold words for a man surrounded by my people. It was true. I could see them now, emerging from doorways, from behind overturned furniture. 5. No, 6. All armed, all focused on us. "Last chance," Victor said. "Give her to me and maybe I let you live." August's response was to raise his weapon. Everything happened at once. Victor dove sideways. August fired. I screamed. Bullets tore through the air like angry hornets, and August was pushing me behind an overturned table, covering my body with his. "Stay down," he shouted. Then he was up and moving, firing as he went. He moved like a dancer, like this was choreographed, each step calculated. One of Victor's men went down, then another. But there were too many. A bullet caught August's shoulder, spinning him around. He stumbled, nearly fell, and my heart stopped. This was it. They'd kill him, and then they'd take me, and everything he'd done would be for nothing. August straightened. Blood poured from his shoulder, but his gun hand was steady. He looked back at me once, just once, and in his eyes I saw something I'd never seen in my father's. Not ownership, not possession, something that looked terrifyingly like love. Then he stepped into the open, drawing their fire, pulling them away from me. "Over here," he shouted. "You want someone to shoot? Shoot me." They did. Bullets sparked off marble, shattered what was left of the windows, tore through paintings worth more than my father's house. But August moved through it like a storm, unstoppable, until he was standing over Victor, who'd fallen trying to dodge. The loan shark's gun had skittered away. He scrambled backward, yellow teeth bared in fear now instead of greed. August pressed the barrel of his weapon to Victor's forehead. "She is not for sale," he said quietly. Then pulled the trigger. Dawn broke over the ruins of the fortress, painting everything in shades of gold that felt like a lie. How could the sun rise on so much destruction and make it look beautiful? I sat on the front steps, wrapped in a blanket someone had draped over my shoulders. Around me, men in dark suits moved with practiced efficiency, photographing, cataloging, removing bodies. Police, August had said, though they didn't look like any police I'd ever seen. They didn't ask me questions, didn't seem to see me at all. Mrs. Chen appeared beside me with a cup of coffee. Her gray hair had come loose from its severe bun, and exhaustion lined her face, but her hands were steady as she pressed the warm mug into mine. "Drink," she said softly. "You're in shock." Was I? I felt numb, disconnected, like I was watching someone else's life unfold. The coffee was bitter and hot, and it burned going down. The pain felt real in a way nothing else did. "Where is he?" I asked. "Having his shoulder treated. He'll be fine." She sat beside me, her black dress dirty and torn. "He always is. The others? 3 dead, 4 wounded. They'll live." Her voice carried no emotion, like this was just another Tuesday. Maybe for her it was. Victor's men are being dealt with. The ones who survived are wishing they hadn't. I should have felt something about that. Horror, guilt, something. But I'd seen Victor's grin, heard my father's words. Some men didn't deserve mercy. "Your father's body has been removed," Mrs. Chen continued. "There will be paperwork, but Mr. Smith's lawyers will handle everything. You won't need to—" "I don't want to talk about him." She nodded, understanding. We sat in silence as the sun climbed higher, burning away the shadows. The estate looked like a war had been fought here, because it had, over me. Footsteps crunched on broken glass. August emerged from the house, his left arm in a sling, his face gray with exhaustion. He'd changed into clean clothes, but nothing could hide the toll the night had taken. Dark circles shadowed his eyes. His movements were careful, pained. He saw me and stopped, something flickering across his face. Relief? Regret? Then it was gone, replaced by that familiar mask of control. "Bella." His voice was rough, like he'd been shouting for hours. Maybe he had. "We need to talk." Mrs. Chen stood, taking the coffee cup from my nerveless fingers. She touched August's good shoulder gently as she passed, a gesture of comfort between old allies. Then we were alone on the steps, surrounded by the wreckage of his beautiful fortress. August sat beside me with a barely suppressed wince. For a long moment he said nothing, just stared at the fountain where my father had died hours ago. The blood was gone now, washed away by the cleanup crew, but we both knew it had been there. "I'm sorry," he finally said. "For what?" "For all of it. For your father. For bringing this violence to your door. For—" He stopped, jaw working. for not being able to keep you safe without destroying everything. You kept me alive. At what cost? He gestured at the shattered windows, the bullet-pocked walls. Look at this place. Look at what happened. You deserve better than to be the center of a war zone. I didn't ask for any of this. I know. That's why... He reached into his jacket and pulled out a thick envelope. That's why I'm giving you a choice I should have given you from the start. He set the envelope on the step between us. Inside, I could see the corner of a passport. Deep blue, American, and the edge of currency. Lots of it. $50,000, August said quietly. A passport in your name with a clean background. Documents for a new identity if you want it. Contacts in 3 different cities where you can start over. No one will find you. No one will hurt you. You'll be free. The word hung in the air between us. Free. No debt, he continued. No father. No obligation to me or anyone else. You can go anywhere, be anyone. This was never about owning you, Bella. It was about making sure you had the choice that men, like your father and Victor, tried to take away. I stared at the envelope. Everything I'd wanted a week ago was inside that packet. Freedom, safety, a chance to disappear and become someone new, someone whose father hadn't sold her, someone who hadn't watched men die for her. My hand reached out, fingers touching the paper. August went very still beside me, barely breathing. I picked up the passport, felt its weight. Opened it to see my own face staring back at me, but with a different name. Jennifer Walsh, born in Portland. No history, no scars. I could be her. Could walk away from all of this. The blood, the violence, the terrifying man beside me who'd killed for me without hesitation. But Jennifer Walsh had never been held together while she shattered. Had never been protected by someone willing to step into bullets. Had never been chosen when the world said she was worthless. Jennifer Walsh didn't exist, but Bella Bates did, and for the first time in her life, she got to choose. I tore the passport in half. August's breath caught. Bella, I don't want to run. The words came out stronger than I felt. I don't want to be Jennifer Walsh in Portland, looking over my shoulder wondering if they'll find me. Wondering if you're okay. I'll be fine, I always am. Will you? I turned to face him fully, seeing the exhaustion, the pain he was trying to hide. Or will you be alone in this fortress, protecting ghosts? Something cracked in his expression. You don't owe me anything? I know. I stood, legs shaky but holding. That's why this is my choice. Not because I have to. Because I want to. I walked back into the house, stepping over debris, past the cleanup crew who parted like water around me, up the grand staircase with its shattered chandelier, down the hallway to my room, my beautiful cage that had become something else entirely. The door to August's bedroom was next to mine, connected by a shared wall. I'd never opened it, never crossed that threshold. I opened it now. August had followed me up the stairs, was standing in the hallway watching with something like hope and fear warring in his eyes. I don't want to go, I said, my hand on his doorframe, claiming space in his sanctuary. I want to be home. The sun streaming through the window caught the tears on his face. Just one, maybe two, quickly wiped away. But I saw them. Saw the moment the fortress walls finally crumbled. Then welcome home, he whispered. And for the first time since my mother died, I was. The mansion was still broken. The windows would need replacing, the walls repainting, the chandelier rebuilding. But broken things could be fixed, broken people could heal. And sometimes in the ruins of what was destroyed, you found what was always meant to be built. I stepped through August's doorway, and he followed me in. The door closed behind us, sealing out the chaos, the cleanup crews, the memories of violence. In here, it was just us. Just two people who'd found each other in the wreckage and decided to stay. "We'll rebuild," August said, his good arm wrapping around me. "Make it better than before." I leaned into his chest, listening to his heartbeat, steady, alive, real. "We'll rebuild," I agreed. Outside, the sun climbed higher. The fortress stood wounded but undefeated, and inside its walls a girl who'd been sold found something no one could ever take away. She found home. Did Bella make the right choice? What would you have done? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. I love hearing from you. And if you want more stories like this, dark romance, protective alphas, and heroines who choose their own fate, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss the next chapter. Your support means everything and helps me bring you more content like this. See you in the next story. Stay safe out there.